Hey guys, so today instead of doing a single romance review, I wanted to put some positivity out in the air because while in my personal life there is a lot of work to be done and a lot of hard work to do and conversations to have and just a lot of stuff happening in the country right now, I am choosing to focus on boosting people and spreading positivity in the world right now through this video. And the way that I wanted to do that is to say Happy Black History Month. Because even though there are some corners of this country trying to make February not Black History Month, it is still Black History Month. Black history is important. And in particular for my video today, I want to talk about Black romance authors. And I could not figure out how I wanted to do this video, so I just decided that I would do it all, which means that I want to give you guys some book recommendations of books and or series that I've already read. I wanted to shout out some authors whose books I missed, and maybe you did too, I don't know. But for me, these are arcs that I got last year that I didn't end up reading. And I was going through it in my own life. I'm still going through it now, but I wanted to put those back in circulation on this channel and promote them in some way. And then I also have a couple of upcoming releases that I want to talk about. And of course, all of these authors are Black, and they are all, I believe, contemporary romances, but there are some twists on some of them that I think are kind of fun. So I want to start with someone who has written some of my favorite romance books of all time, hands down, and that is Denise Williams. I have reviewed at least 3 of her books on the channel, but I want to flag 2 in particular that to me are just fantastic. There's her debut, How to Fail at Flirting, and then The Fastest Way to Fall was the book that she released after that. Again, I reviewed both of those. I'll have them up in the cards somewhere. But in particular for me, How to Fail at Flirting and The Fastest Way to Fall, they are these books that deal with very, very significant issues. There is a thread of psychological abuse in How to Fail at Flirting. The female main character in that one has recently left an abusive relationship. And then Fastest Way to Fall has fitness, body positivity, and a bunch of different sides of that. So the female main character is plus size and is into fitness. So she's plus size and into fitness. It's not about being skinny, it's just about being healthy, which is awesome. And then the male main character in that one, he has a sister who is suffering from anorexia, and he is also a fitness trainer. That's how the two of them meet. They manage to both talk about really intense issues in very respectful, emotional, important ways while still having awesome relationships that are featured at the center of them. And I just love these books so much, and I think I bring Denise Williams up like every single time I make like a best of list if I can fit her in, because I love in particular these 2 books so much. I haven't read a lot of her recent stuff, but this is also, I guess, like a little bit of a books I missed and books upcoming, because I have books of her that I've missed, and there's also a new release of hers coming out this year. So just a really good author to put just like on the front. This author is probably a little bit more of the most well-known on my list maybe, but Jasmine Guillory. Jasmine Guillory has written, I think, almost like a dozen books at this point, and you may or may not have picked up one or more of them. I picked up a lot of her original debut series, which was the Wedding Date series. The Wedding Date is the first book, and it is about needing a date for a wedding. But then there was the Proposal and the Party of Two, which I've also read. There's like 5 books in that connected series. I think that's 3 of them. And the Proposal had like a baseball storyline in it, which I thought was really fun, because obviously I'm wearing my Mets sweater right now. And I thought that was really fun. And then in Party of Two, it was a politician romance, and I went really, really hard on on those for a while, but I couldn't find a lot of ones that I liked. So it was really fun to have Jasmine Guillory, who wrote one of those in the same series that I had already started. So again, this is an author where I know she's doing a different series now, or some different books that I haven't read, but I have a very special place in my heart, particularly for The Proposal and Party of Two, because they fit like two really weird niches and fads that I was going through in my time at my reading. I also want to recommend two books by Mia Sosa, both of which I have reviewed on the channel, and I'll put them up above. But there is Worst Best Man and The Wedding Crasher. These are both books that are obviously focused around weddings, both crashing a wedding and then a best man romance. I find these books really, really funny. They're both really, really quick. They're both very involved in the family aspect of them. I love them a lot. They're really funny. They're really silly. And in this time, I think that we need funny and we need silly. And so people should read these. So rounding out my list of recommendations, I have one that's going to bridge us from recommendations to books that I missed. So I want to talk about A Dash of Salt and Pepper by Kasoko Jackson, which I also reviewed on the blog and I will link up above. This is an romance that takes place between two chefs who start as people who just can't stand each other, and then they begin to dial up the spice in the kitchen. This one was one that I was not like super fan of, but it's not the book's fault. And the reason is that this is a novel that involves a single parent, and I tend to not like single parent novels because there's always that moment when like the kid generally is just like, yes, this is the person that you're meant to be with, or they just have like a really easy relationship with the kid. And I know that that's like a really weird bit to have with romance novels, but I always just feel like the kids in romance novels are like always the same child. They're like wise beyond their years, and like they see it before their parent does or whatever. I don't know. It's like one of those like really, really random pet peeves. Unless someone wants to recommend a good single parent romance down in the comments, I will happily read it, but I just tend to get really annoyed by that cliche. It's weird. But anyway, that wasn't that book's fault. It was just there. But the reason that this author bridges into the next category, which is books that I missed, which was that in doing research for this video and like trying to make sure I had like names and dates of like the book coming out later and whatever, I realized that Kasoko Jackson's more recent romance novel is a second chance romance. And second chance is if like, you know, single parent is down here, second chance is like up here. And now I know that I missed that book. I've never seen it before. I think it came out in like 2022. But I have got to go read it now because that sounds amazing. And outside of like that plot point, I did enjoy A Dash of Salt and Pepper. So I think that if the tropes are more what I like, then I will like the book more. So if, you know, single parents also are not for you in their romance novels, maybe Kasoko Jackson's newer romance book will be the one that you pick up. So now we are moving into books that I had as ARCs and I was not able to review on time, and I just like have not been able to go back and pick them up, even though I really want to, because there's a lot of demands on my brain currently, but I want to tell you guys about them in case you also missed them and I wasn't able to promote them at the time, but they're still out there and you can still read them. So I want to start with one. I'm so sad that I didn't read this. It's called Jewel Me Twice by Cherish Reed. And this is a jewel thief romance, which I mean just sounded amazing. It's why I requested it. It's also a little bit of like a second chance thing, which just adds another layer that I just love, because apparently our female and male main characters had a run-in when like 5 years ago, and he's still a thief, but now she runs an antique store and they have to This sounds amazing, and I really, really wish that I had been able to read it at the time. And I really do hope to eventually get around to reading it. But in the meantime, if it's something that you would be interested in reading and you have the spoons, you can go get it from your local library or your local bookstore right now. So the next book that I want to talk about is also a second chance romance, because I have a thing for these. It's fun, guys. But it's called In It to Win It by Sharon C. Cooper. Our main characters here are two entrepreneurs who are trying to purchase the same property, and it ends up becoming that they need to like be in an Iron Man competition of some kind to see who gets to buy this building. It seems really ridiculous, but I love me a second chance romance, obviously. I also was really intrigued by the storyline that is mentioned in the blurb, that the female main character is trying to help children in the foster system, and so that would be a storyline that's really interesting. In the blurb, it's also mentioned that she left the male main character without a word, and so those are always just like, oh, what was the miscommunication? Like, what do these guys gotta figure out? It sounded so up my alley, which is why I requested it, but unfortunately, again, I did not get a time to read it. But again, you can. It's out there. So if this type of more like entrepreneurial, like, it's definitely second chance, but it also has like flavors of like enemies to lovers in there, this may be a book that would interest you right now. So the last book that I'm putting in this category of like arcs I missed is technically an arc I missed, but this one was slightly more intentional because after I requested this book, I realized that it was the second in a connected series, and I was a little bit worried that if I read that book, then without reading the first book, then I wouldn't understand as much. And so I thought, okay, I'll read both books and then obviously, I mean, that just didn't work because I'm barely reading one book at a time, and here I think I can read two books for the same review. I don't know what I was thinking. But anyway, the book that I originally requested is The Partner Plot by Christina Forrest. This is a second chance romance between high school sweethearts and also a marriage of convenience. You can probably already kind of tell that from the cover. So basically, these two people who were high school sweethearts, they get married kind of like impulsively, and it ends up being really good for both of like their careers, which are both in a situation, so they continue to fake their relationship. So it's like fake marriage, marriage of convenience, second chance lovers. It's kind of flavors of all of that, and that sounded really fun to me. However, as I mentioned, this is actually book 2 in the Green Sister series. Looks like there's going to be a book 3 as well. And the reason that I wanted to commit to reviewing both books when I had the arc for the second book was that after the first line of this blurb, I knew, because it said, in this heart-fluttering romance by Christina Forrest, a shy bookworm enlists her charming neighbor to help her score a date, not knowing he's the obscure author she's been corresponding with. And I was like, oh my gosh, a shy bookworm, an author, it sounded so cute, right? But of course, the path to hell is paved with good intentions, and I never ended up reading either of them. So maybe at this point, I'm just like waiting for the third book and I'll do a whole series review, you know, with all that free time. And the arc reviews, I'm actually getting out on time, but I'm not getting out on time. It's fine. Now I want to talk about 2 upcoming releases that have absolutely just caught my attention, and I cannot wait to read them. They sound so interesting. I wanted to stick with kind of recent ones. So these books come out, one comes out in March and one comes out in April. But the one that comes out in March is The Love Simulation by Etta Easton. This is a story about a librarian who needs funding, and so she decides to like compete or do something with like a Mars experience thing that's happening over the summer. And of course she gets stuck inside, you know, the Mars simulation with this other person at her school that she really doesn't like. So yeah, it's like enemies to lovers, but also it has this really funky Mars simulation thing going on. And then of course with her needing money for the library, that always tugs at my heartstrings because I have a degree in library science and I love libraries. So I love a lot of elements of this story. I have to admit, I was sold right from the cover, and then I read the blurb and I was just like, oh my god, this sounds amazing. In doing research for this video, I realized that The Love Simulation actually appears to be related to Etta Easton's other book, which was called The Kiss Countdown, which is between an event planner and an astronaut who go on some fake dating thing. So if you've already read that one, maybe you already know about this book. My introduction to this was The Love Simulation, and I have to say that that plot is more interesting to me, but we will see when I get into it if I decide that I need to read both for context. Who knows? So this book is coming out in April, and it is called Gold Coast Dilemma by Nana Malone. This one is really interesting. It is about a heiress from Ghana who loves Ghana, loves her country, loves her culture, but meets someone from out of the country at a publishing party, which also suggests it has to do with publishing, which is great. Sounds great. She's engaged to marry a man from her culture, from Ghana, but after meeting this other man, she's not really sure what she wants to do. The marriage that she's engaged to be happening is actually an arranged marriage with someone who is from her same social class and culture. And so it is a novel about, family obligations, clash of cultures, wanting to stay in Ghana, loving being in Ghana, but just also not sure if she should leave the place that she's comfortable with to go after a love connection. As far as I understand from the blurb, I thought this was so cool when I saw it, because obviously every other book that I've talked about for the most part is set in America. I read a few that are set in the UK, or people traveling to the UK. Sometimes they are armchair travel, but this is one that is set in Ghana, and the female main character is from Ghana. So it's not just somebody parachuting in on vacation. And so I'm really interested in reading that book for a different setting, but also just a totally different cultural viewpoint that I can learn about, because I will be honest, I don't know a lot about Ghana. And so this is my favorite thing to do in books, is to learn about other people in a fun way. And so that's a romance novel that I think should be on a lot of people's radar, because it's so different from a lot of stuff that comes out, and I'm really, really interested in it. All right, so I have somehow accomplished everything that I set out to do, which is to recommend some books to you that I have read, promote some books that I was not able to review on time as ARCs, but I can still tell you guys about in case you want to read them, and then hopefully put a couple of books on your radar for releases that I am interested in that are coming out. All of which celebrate Black History Month in the way that I do, which is through romance novels. Like I said, this is me trying to put some positivity back in the world and try to uplift some romance authors that I really love, or, make it up to some romance authors who I should have filmed an ARC review and didn't, but the world's kind of a mess, and I'm doing as best I can. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have read any of the books, especially the ones that I haven't read yet, and you want to tell me something about them, whether you liked it, whether you didn't, if there's one that I should really read first in this list, put at the top of my TBR, if there's other books that you'd recommend, please leave them down all in the comments for me. I am excited to hopefully read a book for next week, but you never know. I may just be stressed listening to true crime podcasts again, because that's pleasant. Thanks, guys. Bye.